Okay, so we have a new episode of Legends and Leaders, and today it's great to have Alex here. So you've been, pretty instrumental in a bunch of different roles in movies for a while. You were recently in the Arnold Schwarzenegger Fubar show, which was, an incredible success. And you've played some very unique roles. Roles like this like karate type, father figure. You also played somebody who was a bit more challenged in certain ways, and you're able to really channel yourself into these characters in difficult and maybe some roles that others wouldn't take. Now you've got a water brand and you're trying to cut down on plastic waste. You're doing a lot of different interesting stuff, so I'm excited to have you here and to get into your story.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to talk about it. This is one of the things that I love talking about is acting and portraying different types of characters and portraying different stories, and doing other things outside of acting, which is a passion, which is getting rid of single-use plastic and jumping aboard the aluminum and the also we have a mental health initiative that's a part of our brand. So it's a bunch of things that I'm really kind of passionate about and getting behind.
Awesome. So
Yeah.
just kind of going to the beginning, how did your interest in acting originate? How did you start to kind of act on that and make this acting career viable for you?
Well, it's interesting because I started in I played in a band, so I played music for years. And I started when I was 15 with my high school friends, and we toured all over Canada. And then I had this opportunity where I was playing on stage, and a casting director asked if I would audition for a film, and I did, just because I love saying yes. One of the things, my biggest things that kind of propelled me through life is I just want to say yes and figure it out on the way. If it's something I enjoy, if I don't, then I know, as opposed to just turning it down right away. So I said yes, and I got the role, and I realized, well, this is a really interesting, different creative outlet. And I grew up in a town called Winnipeg, where at that time film wasn't really kind of being done. So when I did that first role, I got to become friends with a stunt coordinator, and he goes, I don't have anybody big like you because I'm 6'5". So I would love to have a big guy. And so we became really good friends, and he showed me the ropes and the stunt aspect of it, but also etiquette on set and watching it. And it was great to learn from him. But then I had that I just wanted to tell stories. I have so much respect for the stunt community. And I have a boxing background. So that was one of the biggest things that he really kind of grasped onto, is like for fight scenes and being the bad guy or being bouncer number one that gets in a fight when I first started. But I really thought I could tell stories, and stories on a bigger scale than bouncer number one or thug number three. And I just started studying more, and I started late in life. I started my like mid-30s. So I knew I had a lot of catching up to do. So I studied with some amazing people all over, like in Los Angeles, New York, Vancouver. And then I just started making my way. And the story aspect is what I really wanted to get behind. And the teachings, like Larry Moss is a big inspiration to me. And he was the type of teacher that understood my vessel, because I'm not a very heady actor, and there's a couple friends of mine that really need the almost like a language of understanding beats here and beats there. And Larry understood my emotional aspect of it, and that's where my reservoir is. And so he showed me how to tap into that with script analysis and history in my own life, and substitution in a way that just things that worked for me, that made it more internal, and the vulnerability of that. And I felt like that really spoke to me, and felt like I could do this job.
Mhm. So basically, being in a rock band got you discovered in acting.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of very different from a lot of people's origins.
Yeah, it got me discovered, but I mean, it could have been a one-off. But I love the idea that, when you're in a band, you're dealing with four other personalities all the time. And at that time, being an actor or getting on set, it was all about me, and it was about my thing. So even though as time went on, there's so many other people involved in the decision of me working as an actor, and then you have that team mentality. And I felt like I got that team mentality from the band, and creating songs and working together and being on the road, and just having, I love the aspect of team. And then with boxing, it was one of those things where it's like, okay, you're a part of a team, but you're the only one in the ring. So you have to perform. You can't call for your coach to help you. And I feel like that's the same thing with acting. you have a team, you're prepared with your team, and then you have a dance partner, and you're the one bringing the scene together with another person, just like boxing. So I found these little moments of different parts of my career in music and in boxing that really spoke to me and helped me through the journey of being an actor and telling stories.
So also, like, I mean, you come from a family of people that were all into boxing. I mean, that also made you mentally tough too, I'm sure. How have you kind of channeled those skills that you learned there to be resilient in a career of acting, which some people don't make it. And it's not so easy.
Yeah, I mean, rejection is a big part of this game, and I get it. And you can train in boxing and be the most talented boxer, but if you don't have the cardio, but you have the talent, the person that with the cardio and bigger will is going to get through it. So understanding the vulnerability, and also that one shot could end it. So you can't just go in there with thinking that you're the shit, and then all of a sudden you get caught with a shot. You have to take every moment seriously, regardless of anything. So even though you have an ego, you also have to control that ego. And also, like, the scariest thing in boxing for me wasn't the fight, it was the walk from the dressing room to the ring, and everyone's either cheering or booing, and you're doing that walk, and you've got to control your emotions. There were so many times in my brain, as I'm trying to keep a stoic face and try to be relaxed, my brain's going, just turn around. You don't need to do this. You don't need to get in this fight. You just don't need to do this. Why are you putting yourself through this? But then once you get into the ring, everything calms down. And that was the thing that really helped me, I think, in acting, was no matter how nervous I was, or no matter how where the stakes were, I knew how to relax, because I'm not getting punched in the face when I get on set. So that's a different type of nervousness, but I knew how to kind of channel it and just kind of be within myself and relax, because as a boxer, you cannot perform if you're tight and nervous. You have to be relaxed. You have to, once you're relaxed, all the tools work. So again, that was something I brought to acting that really helped me. But I had to go through the trials and tribulations of failing. And that was the biggest thing. Like, the more you fail, the more you're going to succeed. And I knew, like, I'm totally fine with failing. I have no problem with it, because I want to try as many things in this life as I can and learn from it. And again, the trajectory from the music and boxing, when I found acting and I was able to tell stories. And I knew in the beginning I was, quote unquote, typecast as a big thug or bouncer number one. But in the back of my head, I was like, I know I have to go through these moments to really prove myself, to get to a place where they're not going to just look at me like that, because I'm going to show different sides of this character. And again, studying and putting myself in a position, early on, I became a lead of a film, independent film called Taming Tammy, which was like a almost like Taming of the Shrew, a retelling of Taming of the Shrew. And I had a great director, and they put all their faith in me. It was the first time I was a lead, and I was a romantic lead. So
Wow.
I put myself out there in a way where they went, oh, wait a second, this guy isn't just a big thug. He has a heart. He has humor. And so we wrote the script around it. And I mean, I was scared to do it, because I didn't know if I was going to be able to pull it off or not, but I had to give it a shot. And that was another catalyst for me to go, okay, I can tell different stories. So that's what really helped me, was just saying yes to all these different opportunities and putting myself in a position for people to come to me and go, I think we can do something here. So that's what really helped.
That's fascinating that, like, you realized you just had to break in enough to the industry, and then if you were in there was already the right kind of people around you, so you just needed to demonstrate some of the characteristics, and in that position it got you these roles. That's fascinating.
Yeah, and being vulnerable and showing that side of me, because a lot of athletes or a lot of boxers, like, you just don't want to show any vulnerability. And I knew that was a big part of my toolbox, is that I have a lot of vulnerability that at 6'5" that I want to be able to show. I want to tell stories to a point. Like, I remember watching What Dreams Were Made Of with Robin Williams. And because I played in a band, my days were free. And right across the street was this theater in Winnipeg. And I would go to the theater and do matinees by myself. And I went to that one not knowing exactly what the movie was about, but it was with Robin Williams. And I'm sitting at the back of the theater weeping at this film at the end of the film. And I'm waiting for people to leave because I don't want them to see me. But then I had a moment where I was like, I want to affect people the way this movie just affected me. Like I was absolutely moved. And the crazy thing is, Ben, the crazy thing is, years later, I had a film called Numb that was released in Canada, and that theater was having that film being played there. So I made sure I went to the same theater and I got in the same seat and I watched my film with the whole audience. And I couldn't believe that I was up there. And there was a moment in the film that was quite emotional, and watching people be affected the same way I was affected. And now I'm up there 20 years later or 15 years later. That to me was a huge gift that I got to, have that moment by myself in that theater. Just going, and this is before I even was thinking about acting.
Hmm.
Like, that was the crazy bit. I was just blown away at the fact that this movie affected me that much, just like a song would affect a person. And so that's the kind of storytelling that I wanted to tell. And I got so lucky that I did a 360, and I got right to be in that position to tell that story and watch people be affected by my performance.
It's definitely very special. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you've gotten into some, like we talked about earlier, some pretty impressive roles that you were able to master. One of which was you were a bit of somebody who was, mentally and physically challenged in personal effects. How did you put your mindset into that to really get into that kind of character?
A great question. I was just talking about this to somebody. I, again, wanted to be a part of telling stories. So Larry Moss was having this workshop in Los Angeles, and a friend of mine, Benjamin Ratner, Ben Emanuel, he basically said, we should go to Los Angeles and do Larry's class, and I think we should do Of Mice and Men. And it was a perfect thing where I would play Lenny, he would play George, and we went and Larry really dissected, so I had an idea of going in of how I want this character to be played. And I felt like I made a good choice physically and emotionally, and even with my diction, the way my voice sounded. And so we just kind of fine-tuned a lot of this stuff. And that's what gave me a lot of confidence that I was on the right track. And he was just really helping me find the emotionality in this character. And the thing with Lenny is that he has no conscience. He just kind of does the thing that he does. So we finished it. We finished the workshop. It was great. Come back to Vancouver, and then Personal Effects is auditioning for a character like Lenny. And I went, oh my God, I just worked on this thing for day, probably about a solid week, 9 hours a day. And the only difference I saw was that this character in Personal Effects had a conscience. So how do I put the conscience into this character, but still use the voice and the physicality of what I did with Lenny? And so when I asked, I gotta get in this room, I gotta audition for this. And they weren't looking at, and this is where I really have never shown any casting directors or any really a performance that I could do something like this. So no one was really calling for Aleks Paunovic to come in for this audition. But I just knew I could do this role. And I'm pushing my agent for it. And they're going, sorry, we've got other people to see. They didn't find them. Finally, they said yes. I was the last audition on a Friday before they go back to Los Angeles. And again, it was one of those things where I was like, I'm just going to put it all out there. And who knows, 2 minutes into the audition, they could have went, all right, thanks for coming in. Appreciate it. See ya. And, that I think that one would have crushed me because I put so much into it. And then there was a moment where we finished the first, there was 3 scenes. We finished the first scene, and the director there was 9 people in the room. The director was like, okay, hold on. And then he says, okay, let's have a sit down. Let's do the scene again. And you're connecting beautifully, but I just want you to be more still. Let's get rid of the character and just do exactly what you're doing and be still. And that's all he had to say to me, because I felt like I was being seen for the first time more than a big guy. I'm now being seen as an actor portraying a character. So the scene that we were doing had a massive emotionality in it. Like I'm talking snot rolling down, everything. Like it's written in the script with that snot rolling down. And so now we're doing the scene again, but the emotion, my tears wasn't coming from the character. It was coming from I'm being seen. Like I could actually do this job and people are seeing me as more than just the big guy. So it was happy tears for me, but they didn't know it on the other side. On the other side of the table, they went, oh my God, he's really into the character. But I was just being this big emotional baby going, oh my God, he sees me. He sees that I can do this. And there was even a moment in the audition where I felt the snot rolling down my face. And I was going, oh my God, it's right where they said it in the script. It's rolling down my face. That's how into it I was, that I could actually be out of it. And so when I got the job, it was just such a gift for me. David Hollander was the director, and it was a very personal story for him. And for him to allow me to be a part of his vision, that to me kind of basically sealed the deal for me of this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. There's three moments in my life where I was like, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life and affect people. And that was one of them for sure.
As you progressed, you were able to work alongside really incredible actors like Ashton Kutcher and Michelle Pfeiffer. What did you kind of pick up from some of these people and implement to your own style?
I think it was the calmness and the professionalism. It was something that, it was a thing with Ashton. He got quite method in it, and he's not supposed to like me in the film. So at first, as a fan of his, I was like, why doesn't this guy like me? Like, why is he ignoring me? Why is he's giving me dirty looks off a set? What is going on? And then I got to understand it, and I got to salute it. It's a process, and I get it, which helped me then, because my character in the film was trying to let him know that I didn't do anything wrong to his sister. Yeah. So off camera, I'm going, I didn't do anything wrong to you, man. Why are you mad at me? So it really worked. So watching that process and allowing it to be something that's okay, instead of always trying to be happy-go-lucky on set, and then when we get to it, we have to be this. It was a process. Everyone has a different process. So for him to do that was something that was really special. And to watch Michelle be so seamless, so prepared, that it was like, I mean, there was a few times I thought the camera was off and she was still doing the scene, and I was like, oh, we're still rolling. It was just so natural that she did it that way. So it just did a little professionalism, little ways of going about it, and which basically gave me permission to do the way I wanted to do it, as opposed to being a little bit of a people pleaser in that way, because it was just really starting to get my legs under me in the career.
That's fascinating. I think those are good takeaways too. Just the professionalism is so important in this space, and how you handle yourself as a character inside, outside. Is very
exactly. Yeah.
So you were also in Fubar. Fubar did incredibly well on Netflix. Maybe even surprised people how well it did. Why do you think it was so successful?
I love the idea that they take the piss out of themselves. And honestly, on set, they have such a blast watching that whole team have such an amazing time. And then when they're ready to go, somebody screws up or somebody makes somebody laugh. There's no pressure in that situation. They love it. It just the executive producers and the directors just allowed the crew to be themselves, and they cast it perfectly. And I think that's what allowed it to be successful, is they got the right people in there at the right time. And Arnold is just, he's a legend. So to me, it was an amazing experience to be a part of a show like that. But I think it allowed it because it was great writing and great casting, and they just worked together really, really well.
So you've been on all these sets. You've shot a lot of different types of content now at this point. What inspired you to want to create Legend, to want to build something that's different, in the water space? There's a lot of water companies now, but I think you have a unique take from the Rocky Mountains of Canada, having the water from there, and then the mission as well. So I'd love for you to just share more on that.
Yeah, it's an initiative that, at first, a buddy of mine, I'm doing one of these name drops, but Jason Momoa has done that. Like, Jason Momoa has his own water company, and he really preaches getting rid of single plastic use. And it wasn't this thing where I was like, oh, I'm going to do what Momo was doing. There was an opportunity that came to me with a friend of 30 years, and he deals in a business that has this amazing resource and reservoir of water in Alberta, in Canada, in the Rocky Mountains, and he goes, Liquid Death is doing this amazing thing on this side. They've kind of cornered that market and become very successful. And when he brought it up to me, I was like, dude, this is perfect, because like 40,000 single-use bottles are used in a 60-day shoot. And it's not that I'm preaching about like, get rid of single plastic use in a way where I've never had a bottle of water before, but I just wanted another option on set. And Liquid Death hasn't been in Canada, and was like, maybe we can corner a market here. And the idea of having an aluminum can on set and having an option was something that I really wanted to work towards. And on top of that, the mental health initiative that we have on it, we have a QR code on the can that says Legends Supporting Legends. And it goes to our website, but also goes to a suicide crisis hotline and rehab facilities all over the country. Because I mean, 20 years ago, it was taboo to talk about your struggles. And I don't want that. I want to take the stigma away. And we also didn't want it to be a downer. We were basically going, look, man, like, you need somebody to talk to. We just want to have something there. If one person makes that call, I'm happy. And not only have I dealt with people that have gone through drug addiction and depression, especially through COVID, has been such a rampant thing. And I've been a part of it. I've gone through my bouts of depression. And to have someone to talk to have someone that I looked up to, that actually was saying, look, you just need someone to talk to, give me a call, or call this number, or people that I look up to going, we're not an island, like all of us have some degree of separation of either experiencing with a loved one or ourselves. So that was one of the initiatives I wanted our team to be a part of. And that's something that I'm really proud of. And that aspect is growing and growing within, because we basically launched a month ago, and there's been a lot of opportunity, and we're going to be doing a lot of things for charities and for mental health. And it's just something that I'm just extremely strong about. And the idea, again, I'll go back to the 40,000 single-use plastic bottles in a 60-day shoot. And if you're on set and you're drinking this water in a week, you will consume the weight of a credit card in your body. That's how insane the nanoplastics are when you're drinking out of single-use plastic. And then on top of that, if it's in your car and it's a hot day, you don't finish it, but you get in your car the next day and it's cold, you're like, oh, it's cold, I'll dump it down. You just have doubled the nanoplastics because of how hot the day was before that. In the aluminum can, I just feel like it just saves the world in a bit and saves your body in a bit. And it's just an alternative. And it's been super fun. A lot of my friends on set, Owen Wilson has been a huge inspiration of just, I went to go visit him, and he loves the idea of having aluminum there and getting rid of plastic. And so we had a great talk about it. Sam Neill, who's an amazing actor, and I worked with like years ago. Him and I were just kind of talking about getting rid of plastics and getting aluminum on set. So it's something that's very passionate. And the team that we have is something that's, it's still a part of my career. That's what I love about it, is that even though it's separate as an actor, but it still kind of marries itself into what I want to get across.
That's awesome. I love how you're trying to support mental health, including in that. And also, I think the naming is great. Legend's a good name.
Right.
What do you, just the last question I have, what do you aspire to accomplish now? Where do you see yourself, in the next 5 to 10 years, maybe some short-term, long-term goals, personally and professionally?
I mean, I really want Legend to take off in a way where, we're like, even I saw these amazing kids that were like skateboarders and wakeboarders. They're just like go-getters. They're awesome kids. They're like nine of 10. And I'm like, they're future legends. Those are the kids that I want to not like drink energy drinks and be cool drinking a cool looking can of water and feel good about it, inspiring other kids. So I just want Legend to take off in a way we're drinking, naturally alkaline water. And that's the other thing. Like, our water is naturally alkaline at 8. So we literally just put through UV light, get rid of bacteria, and it goes into the can. And it's something that I just want people to be a part of and know that it's a good thing to have. And so many people are sober now, or trying to be sober. And to hold a plastic bottle in a bar setting where, let's say, there's a wrap party, people may want to influence you to have a shot, but if you have something cool in your hand, no one's going to say anything about it. And that was one of the things, the aesthetics of it. And so in 5 to 10 years, my career, I just want to do more producing and do bigger projects, do things that challenge me. And with the water, I just want it to be in a place where it's accessible to everyone. And even with the aspect of the mental health aspect of just getting rid of the stigma of not talking about it, and having an open conversation. So that's kind of my goal. That's where I kind of want to go with that.
That's awesome. Well, I appreciate you taking the time and doing this. I think what you've already done, just your journey yourself, just becoming the actor that you are today, is super impressive and definitely inspirational to many. You've persisted for quite some time, and some people never get past those, just those kind of secondary roles to get into these significant roles. And you went into really challenging ones too. So that drive is great as well. I'm excited to see where you'll take the water, and I'm wishing you much success.
Thank you, my man. Thank you. Great talking to you, brother.